It's the biggest plane in its lineup that you can get, but how does it stack up a year later? Hey there, I'm John. This is Two Brothers RC, and this is the E-flite Turbo Timber SWS, coming back again for a look at the last year of flying my monster Woody. In my view, this was the best plane Horizon released in 2024. I never got to experience the golden era of E-flite balsa models, but this one, damn. If the rest were this good, I can only imagine what I missed out on. Let's take the Timber up and put it through the patent-pending Two Brothers review system, since it never got a proper review treatment. Since the last time it posted, we were still using the original gut feeling score system instead. I'm actually curious about how it'll score, since I haven't even finished the video script writing as of this point. So I'm gonna be just as surprised as you are to hear the words coming out of my mouth. Afterward, we'll cover the upgrades I made to it to make it fly and look even better than it did stock. Everyone's favorite review chapter is agility, and by everyone, I mean my favorite chapter. What, you don't share every single one of my opinions on literally everything ever? For shame. Now, the big Timber is big, it's heavy, but it's also remarkably agile. If you've ever flown the Timber Evo, the Blue Timber, or the original Timber, you know what to expect here. It flies like a Timber. It's just bigger and stiffer. I can't say this with a straight face anymore. Look, innuendo aside, the Timber flies big and it flies really well. It's just not a plane with light wing loading. But you're not going to be able to tell the difference unless you've got a ton of experience on the sticks. Your average pilot is going to fly it, think it's awesome, and isn't going to get hung up over whether its cubic wing load is 69.420. They're just going to have fun with it because this plane is stupid fun. It's gorgeous too, but we'll get into fit and finish later on. For now, let's stick to the facts. It can be flown with a neutral center of gravity, pretty easily even. Crank that battery strap down and run a light 3600 to 4400 6-cell battery. There are no issues with the Timber's center of gravity at all. It takes off and it lands very well. If you can fly a smaller Timber, you can fly this. It does have adequate thrust. It'll have ludicrous thrust if you perform the motor mod. More on that later. It does have a low 1G stall speed, meaning that if you put some pressure on the elevator stick with the wings level and you slow down with it, you won't start stalling until you're around 25 miles an hour. Obviously, you don't have a speedometer in your eyeballs, but you can pretty much tell when it's gonna stall just by looking at it. If you're worried about stalls, just add a little more thrust while you're maneuvering it. Stall recovery is also really easy. Look at how simple it is to get out of a flat spin, which is an intentional type of stall. See what I mean? The Timber gets 5 out of 5 in agility. Everyone's favorite review chapter is flight time, because we all want to get more than a few minutes in the air with our expensive birds. And the Timber SWS doesn't disappoint. You'll find yourself averaging at least 7 minutes of flying with mixed throttle. I had to dig through some videos from last year's flying to see what the best one was, and it seems like 12 minutes of mixed flying on the stock motor was easily attainable if you fly it more on the gentle side. If you're more aggressive, you should still see at least 7 minutes with Spectrum 5000 class packs, which earns the Timber SWS a 5 out of 5 in flight time. Moving on to the landing gear, let's cover the good and the bad. Just about everything is good with this plane's gear. You have functional wheels, but they're stiff. When coupled with stiff suspension, you've got a plane that bounces on almost every single landing. You might be wondering why stiff suspension is considered a pass on our large balsa aircraft review scale. It's because flexible gear are more likely to lead to prop strikes, which will destroy the motor box and possibly the front end of the airframe too. Prop strikes with foam airplanes aren't really a big deal. Prop strikes with a Woody like this can cause a total write-off of the airframe. Back to the point about landing, yes, you can really work hard to make it not bounce, but you know what's easier? Installing new wheels. I'll talk about that in a sec. The stock gear and wheels are lightweight, which is nice, and the gear require basically no maintenance if you're treating the plane like an airplane and not a monster truck that happened to come with wings. The Timber SWS scores a 4 out of 5 in landing gear. What would improve the score to a perfect 5 out of 5 would be installing a set of wheels from the FMS Super Cub 1300mm. You can pick them up from the link in the description below. Super Timber wheels would also probably work, but I'm concerned that they would lead to strong bouncing. You do need to drill out the Super Cub wheels to make them fit on the Timber's axles, so it'll require a little manual effort, but they're lightweight, and they provide the suspension that the Timber should have had out of the box. Look at the difference in landings here. The stock wheels bounce constantly, while the Super Cub wheels absorb most of the impact force and allow the plane to settle in for landings. Moving on to fit and finish, which is a more divisive aspect of our review system, we find that the covering isn't warped or deformed out of the box. Over time, it's gotten wrinkly in a couple of areas, but that isn't anything that a covering iron can't fix. Linkages are pretty nice, though you may want to upgrade them to metal ball links instead of the stock plastic clevises. All of the hinges on this plane are CA hinged, which is typical for balsa aircraft, and the detailing on the surface of the Timber makes it look just like a bigger, shinier version of the 1.5 meter classic model that everyone loves. Assembly was also pretty easy, with only a few steps needed to make it flight-worthy. Moving on yet again to Avionics and Lighting, we find that the servos are fast and precise, and a first for Horizon, to my knowledge, they're also HV capable, meaning high voltage. The LEDs that come stock with the plane aren't HV capable, though, and you will burn them out if you run the Avian 100 amp ESC at 7.4 volts. That's one of the reasons why our lights are so bright. I replaced the stock lights with GT Power 3-watt lighting a while ago. I'll give you an overview of what to expect there in a bit when we cover the mods done to the plane. The stock ESC has no overheating issues on the stock motor and prop combo. The lighting system does function, and it is correct, with a green starboard nav light, red port nav light, 2 landing lights in the nose, and a pair of anti-collision lights that blink on the fuselage. The motor mount is also really well designed, and it's also a replaceable component. I wish that this was something that I could do with the other balsa planes that I own if I ever needed to. Overall, the Timber SWS scores a 24 out of 25. Last year, I called it a 10 out of 10. On that gut feeling system, the Timber SWS would have scored a 9.6 out of 10. I was pretty close that time, but we'll still be sticking to this metric-based review system permanently, so you'll know what to expect when you buy something, or whether something is even worth considering if you share the same concern about the criteria that we use to judge airplanes. It flies well, it looks absolutely stunning, but it's not cheap. Pick 2, right? Can't have all 3. But for the price, you'd be hard-pressed to find anyone else selling a comparable balsa airplane for less than $1,000. If you like what you see and you want to support us in what we do here at Two Brothers RC, smash that like button, click the link in the description below, and swing over to Horizon Hobby to get your own. Before we move into talking about mods, here's the gyro gains that I used for AS3X Plus on screen. I've adjusted the gains that I'm recommending here, so they should produce less visible bounce back and wind on the roll axis. But, as always, adjust them until they suit your personal preferences. Now let's talk mods. The first mod that I did to this plane was changing out the motor. I replaced the stock motor and propeller with an Avian 5065 450 kV that spins a Zor 16x8 propeller. Of course, the prop is white with red tips. It just looks cool. The motor will drop right into the existing mount. You may need to file out the motor hole on the cowling to make it fit. The motor will extend further out, and so will the spinner. You will not get a flush spinner gap with this setup. It's worth it for the ridiculous thrust that you get in exchange. Running this motor will make the ESC warm up, so you'll want to install an Avian fan. You'll find the motor, propeller, and fan linked below. The fan plugs right into the ESC. Next up is to run Super Timber hands-free wing connectors to simplify the wiring. You can glue 1/2 of the connectors into the fuselage to make it even faster to connect them. Screw the servo leads into the hands-free connectors and plug everything together. You'll thank me later. This is the most crucial mod in my view, and I think the plane should have come like this out of the box. We discussed the FMS Super Cub wheels earlier, and I'm gonna recommend using them again. Just like a road bicycle, suspension for a balsa plane like this should come from properly inflated tires. They sound better, they absorb shock, and they massively improve the bounce that you'll experience with the stock wheels. Pick them up from the description below. The final mod I performed, and the most annoying by far, was installing the GT Power 3-watt lighting system from AliExpress. Be prepared to spend a long time doing this. I spent the better part of 4 hours cutting away balsa, running wiring, epoxying the lights in place, and so on. It's the biggest project, but it's also stunning and well worth it. The lights look incredible at dusk and are clearly visible even in daylight. You could fly this thing at night too. Keep the stock lights installed in the nose. Just run them to the receiver's bind port. Run the GT Power lights off of the auxiliary BEC wire of the Avian ESC, and plug in the lighting system servo lead to a free channel on your receiver. Then set a switch and channel assign to run it. Then you can change the lighting mode whenever you feel like it. It's awesome. If any of this is over your head or you just want to learn more, hop on Discord via discord.gg/2brosrc and don't hesitate to ask for help in the Tech and Setup channel. If you like these kinds of reviews and you want to support the channel, hop over to 2brosrc.com and sign up to become a channel member. 2brosrc.com is our merch shop and members area. Become a member and you can help us buy airplanes that never get sent out to review for the channel. We've tried really hard to not paywall our content, but it's becoming increasingly difficult to afford to buy airplanes that companies refuse to send us to demo. So because of awesome members like you, we've managed to buy the entire F-22 lineup from Freewing, and we're currently working on reviewing the 64, 70, and 80mm jets, along with a tiered ranking of all Freewing F-22s, which have quickly become the timber of Freewing jets. Being a channel member on 2brosrc.com also gives you some neat perks, like a special Discord role, you get shouted out in our videos, and you get to help us fund airplanes that companies won't send out. You also get access to a special live stream on Discord, so you can see the plane in action that you helped us buy, and ask questions directly to me in real time during the stream. If memberships aren't your thing, you can also buy a super thanks on YouTube, or just donate directly on 2brosrc.com. But we'd prefer for you to be members, so that you can chat with us privately on the Two Brothers Discord server in your own members area, and get all of those other awesome perks. Plus, a discount on channel merch too, and we've got more designs coming. Trust me, we're not just flying around having fun here. It's almost always a net loss for me to buy something because the ad money that we get never covers the price of the plane, not even talking about the amount of work it takes to create these videos for you guys. So, to all of our members so far, I truly appreciate each and every one of you, especially Polyscient and Michael Smith, who both signed up for the Mega Fans tier. All of you guys are awesome, and we can't wait to work together with you to create content for everyone. Thanks for watching, we'll see you guys again next week.